and bought my own camera because I saw she had one.
Yep.
And she told me how to show it. I bought the NX7 from Best Buy. My mom paid half for it. It was like $700 or something like that. And we worked on a project together, Detroit. It was like 3 poems about Detroit. Like 10 minutes, like weird ass art film.
Yeah.
And I fell in love with the process. She shot the whole thing, edited the whole thing. And we still got the BTS stuff, like where I'm like sleep in the bed.
Yeah.
And she's up at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
I was in Novi in the
Kelly
Detroit.
I was living in Troy. Kelly was still in Arizona. This was when me and Kelly first started talking.
They be caking. I was like, who are you talking to on the phone, bro?
Kelly was in Arizona.
That's crazy.
I wanted to take a moment to reflect. About a week and a half ago, we wrapped my first feature film, which was a very like kind of full circle process. It was like completion. Like, it's interesting. I made my first short film, like I made my first narrative short film at the end of 2013. They say 7 years, or like 7 is always like, it's like the year of completion. So I made my first short film ever, like narrative wise, at the end of 2013. 7 years later, I made my first feature film. Wrote, directed it, even DP'd it, which was different for me. So it's just interesting because I've just been in a constant state of reflection since we wrapped, and I was just thinking about just how far we've all come. And when I say we, because it is like a group process, it's been people who have been with me since the beginning, whether that's my wife, my road dog Toya, my parents, just friends, you know. I consider myself a relationship-based filmmaker, you know. I think you can always throw money at something and try to, you know, get the quote-unquote best people for the job, but I've never really subscribed to that, even though I have partaken in that method before. But it's always about just the relationships, and then let's like, okay, how can we build it together? Making your first feature is a daunting task. It was especially daunting for me because the way we made this was so different than how we did like my last 2 films. So, Little Church, we had a budget for. My film Right On, we had a budget for, like for a short film, and we were shooting those in. We shot Little Church in 3 days. We shot Right On in 2 days, which we probably needed a third day for Right On. And so when we made those films, we had like, we didn't have big crews, but we had crews nonetheless of just people where, again, what I was talking about earlier in terms of hiring the best. Like we hired the best people we could find, and we put the films together. So there wasn't much struggle. Of course, like if I wanted to, I could have, like for both of those films, I could have just sat back and chilled, and they still would have been decent films regardless of whatever my involvement was or how much effort I put into it. Which is good on one end, but I'm about to get into the kind of negative aspect of that type of filmmaking for a person like me. So, again, I don't come from a film background. Quite frankly, none of my friends who I ever worked with in film were filmmakers. So, in terms of how I worked, it was always like, this is my art. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is my art. When I got into film, it was very different because what I noticed was people just tended to, they would just get the people who they felt were the best, and they would just surround themselves with the quote unquote best people and make something that looks really nice, but it feels hollow. And so I no longer wanted to do that, because when we were working on Little Church, and again, I appreciate everybody for watching Little Church. When we worked on Right On, I appreciate everybody for watching Right On. But the issue with working on both of those films was that I was on set with a bunch of strangers. And so you make the film and you're working with these people, and like, so I might be talking to the gaffer, or I might be talking to a grip or a swing or an AC or whatever. And there's literally they have no investment into the story, which again is fine. They have no investment into the project. They have no investment into what you're building. It's simply just a job to them. Whereas for us, the people who are making the films and who are trying to make a living off of their films, we don't really have the luxury to think that way. And so what I decided was to bet on myself. The discussion early on with Sentimental Mood before COVID was, we're going to raise a certain amount of money. We're going to shoot for about like 12 days or something like that. When COVID hit, I kind of got it back into like my artist bag or whatever. Like, I wrote a book. I started reading more. Like, COVID was very helpful because you just kind of like had to stay to yourself, stay in your thoughts. It just made you kind of appreciate things and just really get down to the nitty-gritty of who you wanted to be. And so once COVID hit, again, that pretty much nullified our ability to kind of raise the money that we were going to raise. So we I sort of made a decision. It was like, okay, we're going to still do Sentimental Mood, but we're just going to do it in a very stripped down fashion. And some people will look at me, like when I talk to, like I said, my producer friends, they looked at me and they looked at me like I was crazy. Like, why would you do that? Because again, if you're used to throwing $25,000, $35,000, $50,000 at a commercial, then I get why you would say that. But I looked at it as quite the opposite. I looked at it like, actually, by stripping us down, gives us the ability to make a better film. I think that if we play our cards right, we will be able to make something better than we've ever made, because we can condense our crew to the point to where we only have the necessary people there. We give our actors time. Our setups are quick and efficient, and everybody on set is connected to their job and to the work itself. Throughout the course of the 6 days, I probably changed about 60% of the script, which is crazy. And so when I say I made the film that I couldn't write, I'm saying that to say that the film that we made is the film that I always wanted to write. But I don't necessarily think that I was a mature enough writer and seasoned enough writer to write that film on paper. but I think I'm pretty seasoned in terms of making films that I can make that film. And so one of the main kind of themes and like kind of like underlying kind of like textures of Innocent and Minimal is jazz. I mean, it's named after Duke Ellington and John Coltrane's song. And so I like to treat film like jazz, you know. In a lot of ways, this film is a dedication to jazz. We just had to feel our way through it. And it worked. It really worked. It really, really, really worked. I think by the time day 4 hit, like we were cruising. The performers. I mean, I can't say enough about Don Snipes and Deborah Spencer. I mean, Don is the godfather to my kid, you know. But regardless, I will be hard on Don regardless. Like it's like, hey, if he not delivering, he wants me to let him know if he's not delivering. And the depth that they were able to go to emotionally was crazy. You know what I'm saying? It was just crazy. So I will just be forever grateful for what they did. For what they did on set. It was just it was magical. It was magical. I never planned on being a filmmaker. I was just a poet who wanted to express myself. And film and like the visual medium in general was very attractive to me after Toya and I did Detroit. We worked on films, we worked on music videos. Then we did short films, and then me and Jeremy, we got together and we made 3 great short films and won awards. And you know, I'm just grateful for the entire thing. So to look now and to have like this fully realized body of work in my first feature is and I just hope that my story gives hope to anybody who feels like they don't have the right gear, or oh, you don't know nothing about cameras now, or whatever. Like, when I tell you, I did not know how to use a camera 8 years ago. I didn't know how. And I just shot my first feature that probably looks better than every other piece of art that I've made up to this point. So it's just like, keep working, keep grinding, and trust yourself. But also hold yourself accountable. Because if I don't go home after that horrendous first production day and say, hey, I know, Zach, you not only have to change some things about yourself, you have to change some things in terms of this production, then it's not going to happen. So, you know, just sitting here reflecting, you know, just thinking about me and Toya did best. Black Suit Blues. The music video from my homie Gift. We did all of these different things, and it's just like, man, like, we just kept going. We never stopped. From DSLRs to buying new cameras and thinking that the new cameras are really gonna make us better filmmakers. And buying cheap stuff off Amazon. It's just so much that we've done and gone through and worked at. And it feels good because this is like only the beginning. I feel like my film school is complete. My film school might have been 7-8 years. Most people go to film school for like 2. And I feel like with this, it's complete.
Second feature in 10 months.
Second feature in 10 months, for real.
For real.
Right.
Yeah.
God is good.
Yeah. So, what's the next one in like 3 months?
Yes. So
I do have another one ready.